I'm Beverly Hanson. I'm a volunteer from Lac Lawrann Conservancy at West Bend. Lac Lawrann is part of the West Bend Parks system. Have you ever been to a park? What do you do there? I think you probably run and holler a lot, and maybe you swim or play ball or climb on the playground equipment. All those are fun things. Well, Lac Lawrann is a different kind of park. It's a conservancy. And at a conservancy, we don't have a swimming pool or a ballpark or playground equipment. What we do have is miles and miles of trails that you can hike on and see what grows there, plants and animals. Let's begin by looking at my apron. What do you see here? It looks sort of like a turtle. And there's an L for the leg is an L, and the other leg is an L, and the head is a C. LLC for Lac Lawrann Conservancy. Now this turtle's name is SHYBER. Now SHYBER is kind of a made-up name. It's not a very common one, is it? And SHYBER stands for a small-headed, yellow-blotched, endangered reptile. SHYBER represents a Blanding's turtle whose population was endangered, but now it's growing again. And SHYBER would like to tell you his story. Hi everyone, I'm SHYBER. People say I'm a threatened species, but that means I might disappear and you will never see me or other turtles like me ever again. But I'm not worried. I live at Lac Lawrann Conservancy, and people there care about turtles. Lac Lawrann Conservancy, that's a long name, isn't it? When Lawrence and Anne Marin first saw my pond, they thought it was so special, they decided to give it a name. They used the French word lac, L-A-C, instead of the English name for lake. And look carefully now. They used their first names, Lawrence and Anne, and put them together to make Lawrann. Isn't that clever? Conservancy. Say it slowly. Conservancy. This long word has a small word in it. A small word with a big meaning. Conserve. It means to protect and take care of. After Lawrence and Anne came to live at Lac Lawrann, they made it a better place for wildlife. And that's what my story is all about. I remember the first time I saw Lawrence and Anne. There I was, basking in the sun on my favorite log. The leaves overhead were bright with fall colors. They got out of their car and just stood there looking at my pond. They read the sign posted next to my pond. I heard them say, "Cottage for sale, lake full of fish." I chuckled to myself, cottage? Lake full of fish? These two people smiled. Then they got back in their car and drove away. But it wasn't long and they were back. This time they set up a tent and camped. They walked the trails and were so excited to see all the wildflowers and looked for fish. And there were a few small ones. Many years earlier, men had come and cleared a long trail. They carried in a long, heavy iron rail for a railroad train. The new track went right past my pond and ended at a larger pond not far from here. That's where the bigger fish live. My grandpappy turtle told me that men came in the winter time to cut large blocks of ice from the ponds. They loaded them on the train and carried them to the cities. Grandpappy said people needed lots of ice to keep their meat and milk cold. Of course I was puzzled. This was all new to me. You see, in the winter time, I'm nestled fast asleep under the pond. Grandpappy Turtle also told me about the soft yellow sand. He said, now there's a good place to rest on a sunny day. The men used the yellow sand to make bricks not far from my pond. They were carried by train to the cities and used to build people's houses. Now the brick factory is gone. Only a tall chimney is left where the factory once stood. And the men don't cut blocks of ice in the winter. The iron tracks have been pulled and carried away, but the trail left behind is still there, and it made a nice driveway for Lawrence and Ann to drive on. And it's a soft place where turtles can lay their eggs in the springtime. A kindly old man named Fritz built his small wooden shack along the railroad tracks. Fritz would cut wood for cooking and to keep himself warm. He washed his clothes in the pond. Some of us turtles didn't like the taste of his soap. Lawrence and Ann knew that Fritz had no other home, so they let him stay in his shack. He lived there until he died. His shack is gone now too, but you can walk along the trails near the place where the shack once stood. You can look out over my pond, just where old Fritz once did. Lawrence and Ann built their house, and they saw many different kinds of birds in their wild backyard. There were owls and hawks, blue herons and ducks, and all sorts of songbirds. Ann kept a list of all the birds that she saw, and she called it her lifetime bird list. Animals, too. They saw fox and possum, rabbits, muskrat and mink and beaver. Sometimes Lawrence and Ann took pictures of us. Ann wrote letters to all her friends and told them about Lac Lawrann. Many friends came to visit. Did you know that people once thought that wetlands and small ponds were just wastelands because they couldn't build houses there? People would try to fill up wetlands with their garbage. Ugh, my pond was polluted and full of things that trapped animals. Lawrence and Ann set to work cleaning up my pond. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts came to help too. We turtles all lined up on our logs to watch as everyone worked together. They loaded all those old bed springs and tires and trash into the big truck and carried it to a proper dump site. Cleaning out the ponds was hard work. Replanting the many green plants that had been munched away by the farmers' wandering cows brought another problem. What kind of plants could they plant to give food and shelter to all the wild critters that lived there? Lawrence and Ann thought and thought. They asked the people at the Wisconsin Conservation Department for help on what to plant. Lawrence and Ann planted thousands of trees and bushes. Soon my furry friends had new places to run when they needed to hide. Birds of all colors and sizes had new places to build their nests and branches to perch on. There were all kinds of berries to eat, and we all agreed life at Lac Lawrann couldn't be any better. Years went by, and all was good. The Marins enjoyed their backyard. They watched from their windows. They walked quietly along the trails, and the trees and bushes grew and grew and grew. Ann's lifetime bird list got longer and longer. The more she watched the birds, the more she learned about them. People came to walk the trails with Ann so they could learn more about the birds in her wild backyard. Busloads of school children began coming to the Lac Lawrann. Boys and girls walked the trails. They were all excited to look at things they scooped from my pond. Lawrence and Ann were happy to have people of all ages visit this special place. But Lawrence began to wonder. He and Ann were getting older. How long could this last? One day there was a lot of excitement over at the Marin house. We all flew, hopped, or swam over to see what was going on. Lots of people had gathered at the house, and it looked like they were having a picnic. But then someone stood up and spoke about Lawrence and Ann and the work they had done cleaning up the pond and planting all those trees. These people uncovered a large rock, and on it were written these words: Lac Lawrann Conservancy, a gift to the people of West Bend, by Lawrence and Ann Marin, 1979. What exactly did this mean? Well, my pond has become part of the West Bend Park system, a very special part. It is a conservancy. Wildlife is protected from the pollution of dumped garbage and safe from people building houses here. Lac Lawrann will be a place where people can come to visit and learn all about Lawrence and Ann's wild backyard for years and years to come. I know I said this was my story, but it really is the story of Lawrence and Ann Marin. They loved each other, and they loved this land and everything that lived here. That even included me. They brought people and wildlife together in a very special way. When people visit Lac Lawrann, they carry home a bit of Lawrence and Ann's love of nature in their hearts. They might learn about a butterfly or a new plant. They might remember seeing turtles lined up on a log in the pond. People will learn what Lawrence and Ann knew all along. Everyone can help protect and take care of wild areas. My name is SHYBER. They call my pond Lac Lawrann. You can come and visit me anytime. Isn't that great? I'd like to give a big thank you to these two special people. Say it with me. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Ann. What does the SHYBER story tell us? Well, it's a story of a place where wildlife lives, a place where people made many changes over the year. Some good, some bad, most good. Today, volunteers can visit your schools to talk about the wildlife that lives and grows at the Conservancy. Learning helps all of us to appreciate and respect wildlife, just as Lawrence and Ann did. Grown-ups and children can visit Lac Lawrann Conservancy during the daylight hours, from sunup till sundown, every day of the week. You can walk the trails, and please walk, don't run, and be very quiet. Be respectful. This is the animals' home. If you're quiet, you might be surprised at who you will see. All the volunteers hope that our visits to your schools and your trail walks will give you good memories. You can do things to help wildlife too, just like the Marins. Goodbye, and enjoy nature's beauty.